What's going on, guys? Water will not make you hydrated. We need to have a serious conversation about this. We need to talk about why it won't hydrate most people, how it's making you even more dehydrated, and how to fix that problem. But before we get into this, please subscribe to the channel and click that bell on the bottom right-hand corner. Let's talk about this. First, hydration is defined as the process of causing something to absorb water. So then the question that needs to be asked is, what makes your body absorb water and become hydrated? The answer is sufficient electrolytes.
It's got electrolytes.
I know you've heard of electrolytes, to name some: sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, iodine, boron. Normally we get these electrolytes from the food and liquids we consume. However, today's food and water are severely lacking these electrolytes, and that explains why most people are chronically dehydrated and unable to rehydrate themselves appropriately with just water. Dehydration can become problematic because it causes a host of health complications like constipation, muscle weakness, low energy, low mood, altered kidney and heart function, and high blood pressure in the long term. Let's not forget about the host of digestive issues that come along with this. In the end, your whole body's balance, called homeostasis, can become disturbed by all of this. Now, all of that is important because if you suffer from any of the problems I just mentioned and have received no help from the people with medical degrees, like physician's assistants, doctors, nurse practitioners, and nurses, of course this includes myself, you could be chronically dehydrated. Your physician could be missing this. The problem with how we diagnose patients with dehydration is that the tests are very non-specific and lack necessary details. Essentially, we look at what's called the bun-creatinine ratio and a few other things, and that's it. Those are not good enough indicators. We need to do more. Also, the tests we do are the only tests that are really covered by insurance, and that's a bummer. So how did we get to this point? What's really causing dehydration that most medical professionals are missing? Well, this is what you need to know. Number one, farmers have destroyed the soil in which our food grows by tilling their soil. Number two, yet again, farmers are causing more problems because they continue to use pesticides in all of our foods like glyphosate. Number three, farmers are only adding nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, otherwise known as NPK, back into the soil after growing the crops. Finally, number four, most water is purified, distilled, or stripped of its electrolytes and other things. To explain the first point, tilling the soil means mechanically turning over the top 6 to 10 inches of ground where the crops are grown. Farmers claim that this helps distribute the nutrients in the soil and helps break up weeds better. Unfortunately, many new peer-reviewed agricultural studies are now showing that tilling substantially disrupts how the plants we eat grow in the soil. In other words, when the soil is tilled, the plants can't pack themselves with electrolytes that are in the ground. That is bad because if the food we are eating has many less nutrients than it should have, it could make us more dehydrated because our bodies depend on having those electrolytes from the food. And if it doesn't, we become more dehydrated. Let's talk about the next point I previously made: pesticides used while growing crops, particularly glyphosate. Glyphosate was patented as an antibiotic, and anything that disrupts the internal flora, like antibiotics, in other words, those little colonies of bacteria that live in your gut, they can cause digestive issues, absorption problems, and pH issues. That means you could physically be consuming the proper amount of electrolytes, but you're not digesting and absorbing them. And because of that, dehydration can occur. Moving on to my next point. When farmers grow plants, the plants suck the electrolytes out of the ground. The problem is that if farmers don't replace all the necessary electrolytes in the soil, the next crop grown will contain insufficient amount of nutrients. Sad to say that all farmers are doing is adding nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium back into the soil. They're missing the hundreds of other vital nutrients that are needed. The result, subpar crops that will not help you sufficiently hydrate. To explain my final point, in addition to everything I just said, people are not consuming the appropriate kinds of water. Again, most water commercially available to the public happens to be purified and distilled. Additionally, even the spring water is purified to some degree. That is problematic because when you purify water, either through distillation, reverse osmosis, or layered filtration, it removes essential electrolytes that are not being replaced by the manufacturer. With all of that said, I'm sure you're wondering, how the heck do we hydrate ourselves? Well, to start, if you want food that hasn't been tilled as much or contains little to no pesticides, you should probably consider doing these two things. Number one, it would be wise to start buying your food at a local farmer's market. At least they will be honest if you ask them about tilling and pesticides. Often they don't use pesticides or till their soil like the big commercial growers do. That is good because you end up with a healthier product you will be able to absorb much better, and that product will help you hydrate better in the end. Also, if you live in America, purchase foods that have a USDA organic label on them or have a PLU number above 9,000. That means what you are purchasing was not directly farmed with that pesticide glyphosate I previously talked about that screws up your ability to actually absorb those things that allow you to hydrate yourself. Now on to the next point. If farmers are not replacing the nutrients in the soil, you need to make sure you are somehow getting them. The way around this, buy an electrolyte supplement from your local vitamin store or online. I like the product Optimal Electrolytes from Seeking Health. I'll leave the link in the description. No, they did not sponsor this video. Essentially, you can mix this into your water or smoothie. It contains extra electrolytes that help you absorb water better, thus affording you the ability to become hydrated better. To examine the fourth and final point I made earlier, it needs to be understood that people are not consuming the appropriate kinds of water. Most water available to us is in some way, shape, or form filtered. That means electrolytes are removed and not sufficiently replaced. The answer is you need to make sure you are buying spring water bottled directly from the source. The spring water contains a wide variety of nutrients that your body needs. Some brands are Mountain Valley Spring Water, Fiji Water, and Volvic Water. Other brands are inferior and are not offering what they promise to you on the label. Now I want to give you some really important points on how to keep yourself from becoming dehydrated above and beyond purchasing the correct food and water and everything we just previously talked about. First, we need to talk about coffee and espresso. Both of these contain caffeine. Caffeine is a great antioxidant, but it's also a diuretic. Diuretics make you lose a lot of really important electrolytes in your urine that help keep you hydrated. Over time, this can make you chronically dehydrated. Be careful with the amount of caffeine you consume. If you feel you have a problem with dehydration, then try consuming less than 120 milligrams of caffeine a day, or no caffeine if you want. 2 6-ounce cups of coffee contain approximately 120 milligrams of caffeine. Small cups, guys, small cups. If you make your own coffee at home, you need to be measuring the amount of liquid and beans you use. Often people are adding too many ground beans to their coffee. The rule, 1.5 tablespoons per 6 to 7 ounces of coffee. You need to measure, people. Moving along, prescription medications, particularly blood pressure medications and heartburn meds. Certain blood pressure medications like hydrochlorothiazide and spironolactone, what they do is reduce the blood pressure by making you urinate excess water. I'm sure you guessed it. When you urinate a lot, you lose important electrolytes through your urine. Additionally, heartburn medications reduce acid in your stomach. That is bad because we need acidic stomachs to absorb these electrolytes. Some people need to be on these medications, and if that is you, the way around this is to make sure you are consuming a great electrolyte powder with plenty of magnesium, sodium, potassium, and calcium. Again, I like that Optimal Electrolytes formulation from the company called Seeking Health. It's a great brand. Also, figure out what's causing your heartburn so you can get off your heartburn medications. A change in diet will often make the heartburn go away. It really is that simple, but you have to do a little bit of exploring, guys. Next is exercise. When you sweat, you lose a ton of electrolytes, and when you physically exercise, you burn through extra ones. When you heal, you're also utilizing even more electrolytes to be able to repair the damage done from exercise. As you can see, if most people are deficient in electrolytes at a baseline, then they further exacerbate the deficiency by exercising. The answer here, there are no definitive long-term studies that were double-blind, placebo, randomized, and had control groups to show the efficacy for frequent intense exercise over a 20 to 30-year period. In the short term, intense exercise is good because it helps increase BDNF in the brain, helps heal your gut, and balances your mental health. However, the research clearly shows that what has the most substantial effect on people's health across the board in every category is moderate exercise for 20 to 30 minutes a day, 2 to 4 days a week. Moderate meaning lighter weights, aerobic activity, brisk walks, and even mild calisthenics. That's it. Remember, when you exercise, you're damaging your body, and if you don't have the sufficient nutrients for the body to repair itself, you could cause more issues with your overall health. And this obviously means it could cause issues with hydration. Everything is a balance, guys. That's it for today, guys. If there's anything particular you'd like to hear about in the next video, leave it in the comments below. I'm always open to suggestions. Until then, I'll catch you on the next one.